So, what if I told you that you can betray someone without ever touching another person? I know most people think that trust only breaks through cheating, but trust really breaks in quiet ways. They're small, everyday little things. And so, if you've ever felt betrayed in your relationship, but you couldn't quite figure out why, this episode is for you. So, welcome to Unmute Your Mic podcast. We're going to talk about it right here today. And I'm Coach Lauren J. I'm a relationship coach, and I work with singles and couples, helping them to heal, forgive, and restore their relationship with God, themselves, and their partners. So, I am excited to talk about this conversation because most of us believe that cheating is the end all be all. And if you're not cheating, then you're a good person in the relationship. And today we're going to dispel that myth because it is a myth. There's more to a relationship than I'm not cheating on you. So let's talk about trust in relationships. So trust in relationships is not just about being faithful. It's really about consistency. What do I consistently see you doing? Okay. And the reason consistency is such a big thing is because oftentimes people think that that's all that they need. Like they just need to not cheat on you and pay your bills. And that should be enough. That's what Coach was saying. Pay your bills, don't cheat on you. Great man. That's a great man, Savannah. That is not a great man, Savannah. Because keep in mind, I wasn't even trying to go here today. We're going to go here real quick. Keep in mind that Waiting to Exhale, when her mama was trying to tell her it was a great man, Savannah, was he not somebody else's husband? Okay. So, what is a great man, Savannah? Is emotional safety, reliability, follow through. And I'm going to add another one, and follow up. So when we look at relationships and we look at how is our partner showing up, and most importantly, before you look at how he or she is showing up, how are you showing up? Are you emotionally safe with God and yourself? Are you reliable with God and yourself? Can God rely on you as much as you rely on him? Some of us are not reliable in the first relationship that is all about love, that grounds us in love. So we're going to struggle seeing that in other areas. And then are we following through? When you say you're going to do something, when you promise that you're going to text, hey, I'm going to call you at 5, are you following up to them? Or when you say, hey, I'm going to call you in 5 minutes, but it's 3 hours later. Are you communicating, hey, this is why it was 3 hours later? If you're not, then that's a big issue. That has nothing to do with cheating. It has everything to do with character, and it has everything to do with patterns. And so your partner is looking at your patterns because your patterns inform your character, and your character informs if this is a person that they can rely on, is this is a person that they can say, I can provide grace to because I know this is not how you normally act. Is this person able to deeply know you? Because the top 3 things that every relationship needs is your partner needs to feel safe, seen, and significant. And if they don't feel these 3 things, then there's going to be an issue in the relationship. There's going to be disconnection. That person's going to feel like they're being left out. They're going to feel like work comes before them. They're feeling this way because something about your pattern is off. And we talk about what this really looks like. A lot of times people think it's just sexual betrayal that destroys a relationship. But I would argue and say that it is the emotional betrayal because this other person or this other thing is getting your time, focus, and attention, and they're intimately getting to know you. You're telling them about your day. You're telling them about your fears. You're telling them about your secret struggles. You're telling them about your big wins. And so your partner wants to hear those things, but your partner is getting Costco samples while you handing out a full 5-course meal to somebody else. And so that is one of the big issues that most people don't understand. Cheating to me is like a cough. It's just a symptom, but it's not the illness. And so what we'll end up doing is we will try to solve for the cough, but the illness is still present. So it's going to come back up again. right? So when someone has an issue with cheating, I'm like, oh, okay, so you're coughing. So let's look at this. Let's check your temperature, because there's some other deeper layer things there that if you don't get to the root of them, you'll never understand the fruit of what you're dealing with. And so you'll find yourself in this cycle of feeling like we keep talking about the same problem. You keep doing the same thing. And it's because we're not solving for the right things. So let's talk about 3 simple ways that trust can be broken in small, subtle ways that you're not paying attention to in your relationship. 1, inconsistency. So one day you on, one day you not. One day you hot, one day you cold. One day you texting good morning, next day I can't find you in the daytime but a flashlight. Listen, this relationships are not offshore jobs, okay? This is not no 7 days on, 7 days off work schedule. Because some of us be treating relationships like this. It's an everyday investment. It's a daily discipline. It's like brushing your teeth. You do it every day. It's like talking to God. You should do it every day. So in order for you to see a return on the investment, you have to put something in to invest. So if you're not in it with your partner, then that's why there's nothing coming out of it for you as well. It's an investment, and it's an investment on both parts, not just him, not just her, both parts and God. Right? You got to bring him into that. Anytime we leave God out of that, it's going to get real ghetto real fast. So that's why you're in the situation you're in. So we look at how trust breaks over time with inconsistency. Hey, you plan a date night, and then all of a sudden now we can't go on Friday night because you didn't had this come up again. Or you say, hey, I'm going to be there by 5, and then you hear at 5:45. And then you mad at me because I'm looking like, why are you not on time? Like you normally on time. What happened today? And when you can't explain your inconsistencies, that makes it worse. Number 2, unreliability, broken promises. You promised me the sun, the moon, and the stars, and I can't find you in the daytime with a flashlight when it's time to make good on your promises. And oftentimes, I will say this, oftentimes your partner is not trying to not be reliable. The issue is that they have overextended themselves. They're overcompensating in other areas. So they're exhausted because they're not measuring nor managing their energy. So they've given out a lot of yeses and not enough nos. Or they don't have a way that they are tracking their yeses like a calendar. So there's no way for them to understand how much they've spent because they are not even tracking where it went. You know how when you be like, I don't know where I don't even know where my money went. When people say they don't know where their money went, that is a red flag that they do not budget. Because you know where your money went if you budget, because you're supposed to budget down to the zero. So when you budget, before you get your check, you're supposed to budget that thing all the way down to zero. Why? Because every dollar has a place. And if a dollar doesn't have a place, it's out of place. And anything that's out of place can't work. It's unreliable, right? So it's the same thing. So when we look at our investments into people, it's the same thing. So we start saying, oh yeah, well, I'm gonna do this, and we start making these big grand promises. And oftentimes we do it because we feel guilty for the last time we said we were coming and we didn't. And now we gotta hurt somebody else's feelings to make sure yours isn't. Or we have to self-neglect ourselves because we didn't properly manage our time. And so now those yeses are expensive. And so then we go from that person start looking at, yeah, this is not working. And then we come with that, next time I'm going to do better. How? How? What's the plan? So you ain't got no, if you don't have a plan, you just plan to waste my time. No plan equals plan to waste my time. So when you look and when you listen to people talk about what they're going to do differently, when there's no specific actions and measures that can support those actions, when you don't have that, it's not that. They're not going to do it. They're going to do it one time. Tomorrow, you'll be looking for them because they won't be able to keep up with it. Because when you think about plans make you sit down and reflect. It makes you look at all angles. It makes you look at all sides. So a person who hasn't looked at the big picture, they'll miss the small details. And that is where trust begins to break. And then number 3, avoidance, avoiding conflict, avoid accountability, avoid hard emotions. They would much rather end the game than to see how it finishes. That's the word for somebody. You ever met somebody who would much rather end the game? Y'all playing a game. And before they even see what's next or how it's going to end out, If it look like they're not going to win, they will rather end the game than even see how it plays out. Avoidance. People who have this avoidant, and we'll be talking through this in my content, but people who have an avoidant attachment style, they tend to run away from their emotions and they don't sit in them. So even though they may be transparent with you, hey, this isn't going anywhere. Hey, I don't like this. Hey, this is this. Until they can connect their part in this, they've told you nothing. They've literally gave their mouth to fear and let fear talk to you, but they're not talking to you, which is exactly why the math is not mathing. And so for my men who feel like, well, I told her this, sir, you did not tell her that. You did not give her your fears. Until you can give somebody your fears, the thing that makes you feel inadequate, the things that make you feel subconscious about yourself, the things that make you want to do this right here, you don't really feel safe. And oftentimes it's not about the person making you feel safe. It's about you feeling safe with you and God. See, when you don't feel safe with him, you can't feel safe with them. And that is why you're struggling. That is why your partner is still asking these same questions and they're getting frustrated because what they're doing is now they're identifying your patterns, and their patterns say that when it gets hard, you're going to avoid or run. You're going to say one thing, but more times than not, you're going to do something completely opposite. And then you're going to act like you didn't do it. And then it's going to be a whole circus. And you're inconsistent. One day you love me, one day you love me not. This is not rose petals. This is a real relationship. This is not rose petals where you plicking and blocking off to see where does it end. But that's what your partner's doing when you're inconsistent. They're plucking those rose petals. Love me not. Love me, love. That is what they're doing. And whatever's left at the end is what you have. And you can't build a solid foundation on a rocky, inconsistent one. It just doesn't work. And anytime that foundation does not include God, which means it doesn't include purpose, it will not be able to include people, because you don't even know why you need them. You don't even know why God gave them to you. You have no idea why you can't value them, because you don't even know what you're called to do. Are we going to stick with the plan? You just keep riding with me and we're going to get you. I'm going to help you get there. But this is the issues that we're seeing. And then let's go into emotional betrayal without infidelity. This gets real when you can make someone, they feel almost cheated on, but they're not. So let's talk about what it looks like. It looks like this. So your partner, have they ever said to you, I come last in your life? Work comes first. Your mom and them come first. Everything else comes before me. I'm always the last person you consider while you are the first person I think of. That, my darling, that is how you cheat on your partner without physically cheating with another person. Sometimes we think that it's a person, but it's a thing. And that thing is what begins to make your partner feel like they're not significant. And so what they're saying is not that, they're not saying like, oh, you need to choose me over them so I can feel significant. They're saying, where am I in your calendar? Where do I fit? And it may be that it shows that they don't. And you have not been able to tell them that. That's why you've been avoiding them and busying yourselves. See, people who busy themselves, the busiers, they are absolutely avoiding. And they're avoiding the hard conversation, because the truth is, you don't. Because what a person values, they do first. What is their priority? So if you're not a priority, you're an option. And so when your partner starts to feel like an option and not a priority, not the first thing you want to go to. So the person, if you have in a moment where you're like, I just need to be connected to my person, who can I run to? If your partner's not being chosen as that person, first God, that should be your number one person, right? But then we see it in human form of relationships, it should be your partner. So if your partner is not that person that you feel like you can run to, there's a problem. And there's something that you need to say to your partner. for them to understand that when you do this, it makes me want to run from you, not to you. When you are inconsistent here, it makes me want to do this. And so, because the last time you did this, when I took you to my event with my job, you embarrassed me. That's why I won't take you back again. See, until you had them real conversations, how can a person change something they don't know is broken? How can somebody fix something they don't know is wrong? People can't change what you won't address. So if you don't address it, they can't change it. So if you're mad that they haven't changed it, have you addressed it? See, we like to place blame and ownership on other people when a lot of times it's your mouth that has kept you in prison with your feelings, not your partner. So when we think about what this looks like and what is our partner really communicating to us, they're either telling you, hey, I don't feel like I'm a priority, and they're probably telling you that your time management sucks. And they're trying to tell you that in a really nice way. I love a man that keeps a calendar. Calendar me, sir, because I calendar you. If you are a priority to me, you are on my calendar. Period. We sharing calendars. So you know exactly what's happening in my day. You know exactly what I've got going on. There is nothing to hide. Because when we walk in the light with people in full transparency, that's when we can be in the fullness of who they are. But when we are walking in the gray with people, it's hard because it's foggy. Like sometimes I see, but then sometimes I don't. And so then that becomes an issue when we talk about why you don't trust me, because you operate in the gray so much. I don't see black or white. I can't see clearly. And where there is not clarity, there is confusion. And so if you're not able to get past this cycle you're in your relationships, it is because there is confusion. And where there is no clarity, confusion resides. And that is why your partner feels as if they've been left out of your heart. God know you ain't never left out of his heart. But can he say the same about you? Is he who you come to first, or when you come, or do you come to him last after you done tried and exhausted all your options, and here you come throwing yourself on the altar? When really, had you came to God first, he would have begun to show you what your partner needed. He would have been able to train you up on, okay, this is what this really means. This is what this really looks like. This is why they're really doing this. Because we don't go to God, we want to go to people that oftentimes you're going to be lacking. And I'm not saying that going to God is just going to make it all easy and you ain't going to face nothing. No, this life is full with trials and tribulations. However, you can overcome them all if you have clarity. Because connection is what the design, your oneness design was always designed to do, was to be in connection. But you can't be in connection with someone that you're in confusion with. So the only way to get out of confusion is we have to communicate. And if we do not communicate, confusion shall be our portion. And you will find yourself seeing your partner in a way that is not consistent with how God sees them, and experiencing them in a way that's not consistent with how they truly feel about you or themselves. And that is how we get mishandled. All right. So let's go into this last thing. Oftentimes when people are avoiding a conversation, it's not because they're trying to hurt you. Oftentimes they're trying to self-protect themselves and they believe they're protecting you. But what they're doing is putting more space than they're providing bridge, meaning we have more disconnect than we have connection. If I don't know what's happening in your heart, how can I navigate this thing with you when I don't understand it? If I don't understand what's really going on, then I'm going to always be in question. And the only people who hate being questioned are the people who don't have answers. I know that's hurt your feelings. I know, but that's just the truth. It's the truth. And then let's go into this. We're going to go a little deeper. Some of you are trying to rebuild trust through behavior change. Let me tell you why that doesn't work well. Because the issue is not your behavior, it's your heart. How is your heart postured? See, the behaviors are only a reflection, an expression of what the heart is feeling. So when the heart is abandoning, That's why the experience is a self-abandonment. When the heart is in fear, your responses are, right? You're hiding stuff. You don't want to talk about it. So the issue is not your behavior. And so oftentimes people will, again, we will try to solve for the cough and not deal with the illness. We'll try to deal with the symptom and not deal with the illness. So what is that? What am I saying to you? Oftentimes people think that cheating is the end all be all of a relationship again. I would challenge that. And the reason I would challenge that is because cheating is just coughing. It's telling me you're sick, but it's not telling me with what. And the only way for us to find out why you're coughing is to understand what's in you. Intimacy. That's when we start asking these introspective questions like, how long has this been going on? How long have you been dealing with this? The mucus, is it green? Is it clear? We start, because what are we doing? We're narrowing down what it could be, because until you get to the root of what is pattern started, you're going to stay in the same space with the person. So when a person is emotionally cheating on you, then we got to start looking at the last time this person was vulnerable with me. What was my response? Did I go way too far? Was I safe for them? Was I judging them? Was I so busy? And women, we have this big issue. Am I so busy trying to fix him that I can't even just face it with him and sit in it? Because we just want to get it together. Like, we just want to be a general contractor, darling. And sometimes God don't need you to be a general contractor, right? The last time I said I was going to be a friend to him, did I show myself friendly? What does that look like in the context of what we're building? So when we really start pulling back, that's why behavior is not the answer. Because see, behavior changes when the heart does. Because the body don't want to do, you don't want to behave in a certain way when your heart ain't in that space. If your heart is in this oneness with God, where you're loving him and you realize he's loving you, and you realize that you don't need your partner to complete you. You just want them to be on this journey and be present and enjoy you. Now there's some behaviors you don't want to do. You don't want to stonewall. You don't want to play games. You don't want to be matching energy with matching energy and doing all this toxic stuff, right? Because toxicity doesn't heal the problem. It just keeps it lingering for longer. It doesn't heal it. And so how do we navigate these things with people? Because this is a human experience is very complex. People are very complex at times. Sometimes they're simple, but sometimes they're not. And so these are the things that we have to look at. And then most importantly is, what does their relationship with God look like? Do they have one? Is he their father? Do they talk to him? Do they know of him? Do they have any relationship with him? Because if he is the symbol of love, and you're supposed to be a loving relationship, the word says that people will know that you are a Christian by the way that you love. So how are you loving? Because depending on how you're loving is going to show and display what is truly in your heart. So if you're not loving in the way that looks like God is your father, if you ain't looking like your daddy, then who you looking like? So that is honestly the cheat code to it all, because most of us are struggling to have trust in our relationships because of the trust that we feel God broke with us. You know, that last time that relationship didn't work out and you feel like you had heard God and that thing went all the way left, like far left. It wasn't part of the plan. And you singing, how did we get here? Right? And so then this other person comes into your life and it's a familiar spirit. It was like last time, and then this happened, and you like, nah, dog, I'm not signing up this time. It's not you not signing up this time for that person. It's you not signing up this time for God, because God last time had gave you what you felt was a bamboozle. And so now Because that trust is broken with God. You're like, God, I'm gonna trust you with my finances. I'll trust you raising these kids. I'm gonna trust you with my mom and them. I'll trust you with my health, but I will not trust you with my heart. Because the last time you tried to tell me that this was not it, and I'm not. So because we have a broken trust with God, you can't repair a trust with people when your trust is broken with him. It don't work. So you got to go back to him. And you got to be honest and say, look, I really thought that last time was the one because I really thought you had said. But then this came, and he'll show you. Because every situation ain't the end. Sometimes God takes us in seasons through things where he has to prune us, to prepare us. Just because you tired and you want to be done don't mean God is, right? His ways are not our ways. His thoughts are not our thoughts. He doesn't operate in the same time zone as you do. We don't need to delegate this to you again. And then what does that do? It makes us not be able to show up in relationships properly. And we tell people that we love them and we love God, and we don't, but neither one are true. In real life, we may like you, we may like God every now and again, but not if he put us on that strong show. If he put you on that strong soldiers list again this year with your heart, you may not. You may not want to sign up. And it's just real. So when we think about, where we've seen this breakdown in our relationships, we first have to look at the first one, and that's with God. God, where, and God's not looking to blame you or condemn you or to tell you did this. He is honestly, he's always willing to show you exactly where the gray areas were. And if you bring it to him, he'll show you like, oh no, it wasn't that. It was actually this. No, it was not. That wasn't it. It was this. Oftentimes, the reason we don't realize the reason that we're having disconnect with people is because we're not having the communication. I had a conversation. I'm a mom of 2 boys, and my youngest son and I were talking, and I had gotten upset with him. I was already agitated from the day, and you know how kids be, they be wanting something. And he asked me for something. I provided it, but I was pretty snappy in the way that I did. And so when he shuts down. And so one of the things I practice with my kids is we talk about it, we communicate. And so I came in my office and I sat with it, and I was like, you didn't have to be that snappy like that. You really owe him an apology. And so I went back to him in the kitchen and I said, hey, babe, I want to apologize to you for being snappy with you because I was just tired. It's been a really long day. None of these things are an excuse, and none of these things were your fault. And I should not have been snappy with you. And he looked at me and he was like, well, that's not what I was upset about. And my face, I'm thinking he's mad because of the way I snapped at him. And he said, I was upset because you cut me off. You didn't let me finish talking. Okay. And he said, I didn't get to finish my sentence. And that upset me. Not so what I said didn't upset him. Even the way I said it didn't upset him. I cut him off from talking. And when we silence boys, you mute them as a man. Because over time, what they learn to do is to just shut up and not say anything. So at the root of who they are, because they have not been allowed to express, that it hasn't been celebrated, it hasn't been welcome, it hasn't been asked for, it's been diminished, it's been shut down. When you get into a relationship and he's an adult, he's going to do the same thing he's been doing the last 35 years. Okay. So when you silence them as a boy, you mute them as a man. The goal is not to silence them as a boy, but to refine the way that they communicate as a boy. So as a man, they're more mature in their communication, but you have to train that. And so what happens as an adult is they bring those same traits and behaviors into their adult relationships. And now their partner is having to be their parent because as their parent, we did not take time to coach that, hold space for that. Hey, I heard what you're saying, but that the way you said it was very aggressive. Your tone was aggressive. This is how I would have preferred you to share that. Now let me hear you do that. And then let them model the behavior, because this is how it becomes this role model. Okay. So when we look at this and we look at this with God, we've got to be able to come to God and say, God, I wasn't hurt that the person left. I was hurt by the way it went about it. I didn't expect this betrayal. When we bring him our honesty, then he can show you, like David said, it was good that I had been afflicted. Then you can see the purpose in the pain. But if you're so bent on staying stuck to the pain, you'll never realize the purpose. And so you'll never walk in fulfillment. And so what you'll be doing is looking for people to fulfill you with something only God can. And that is how you stay in cycles of distrust. So next week, we're going to be going in step by step. We're going to be talking about how to rebuild trust, and not with grand gestures, okay? How to rebuild them step by step. What are some everyday things that you can do to start rebuilding trust in your relationship? Because you can restore trust, but it does take effort on your part. Subscribe and follow this podcast. Turn your bell on, honey, so you never miss the notifications. Subscribe. Share this podcast episode with another person, a partner, a friend, a parent that you know could really use this. Someone that you know has really been struggling with trust. You know, people be on your jobs, but I got trust issues. We'll send them this. Be a blessing to them today and send them this. And if you want to continue to continue this conversation and stay connected, but most importantly, develop that oneness with God so you can develop it with others. Every Thursday night at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on Zoom, we host a Oneness Bible Study group, and it has been amazing. We've been doing this the last several weeks, and so many men and women have been just experiencing God in a very fresh, renewed, romantic, loving way that has just transformed their relationships. And so if this is your time to say, you know what, God, I want to get deeper into you, because I know if I get deeper into you, I'll understand me more, then this is your chance to join us. So click the link in the description and sign up, register for our Oneness Bible Study group, and we'll see you there on Thursday. Let me know what your thoughts are, and we'll see you same time, same place next Tuesday night.